Malaysian businesses can no longer afford to rest on their laurels, content to be jago kampong, big fish in a small pond. Malaysia's location on the global map puts us in the middle of an ASEAN economic community, and all of us, bar none, find ourselves in 2013 at a crossroads. In one direction, a treasure trove of opportunity, the other, economic wilderness. Which will it be? The Global Malaysia Series, brought to you by the Economic Transformation Program and BFM, seeks to bring out the best in Malaysian businesses and urges us to forge onwards and outwards into the region and beyond. Will we be conquerors of an ASEAN market comprising 600 million people with a combined GDP of $1.8 trillion, indeed even the global markets, or will we fall victims to our fears and insecurities? In this inaugural issue of the Global Malaysia Series, we have the great pleasure of welcoming Tan Sri Lee or Hian, the Chief Executive of Kuala Lumpur Kepong Berhad. Ladies and gentlemen, KL Kepong, with a market cap of approximately $7.3 billion, started out as a plantation company more than a century ago. Today, through a series of acquisitions, its plantation land bank now stands at more than 250,000 hectares spread across Malaysia and Indonesia. It has also diversified globally, not just into oleochemicals, but also successfully vertically integrating both its upstream and downstream businesses. Through a series of joint ventures and acquisitions in Malaysia, Indonesia, China, and Europe, KL Kepong is today truly a global player in the multi-billion-dollar palm and edible oils industry. We hope that Tan Sri's presence here today will allow all of us in this room to tap his deep pools of wisdom and decades of experience, not just as a planter and entrepreneur, but also as a son and a father, to emerge wiser, braver, and more inspired to conquer this brave new world we find ourselves in today. Tan Sri, thank you for being with us today. Your leadership style has evolved through the years. Do share with us how it has changed through these past few years.
First of all, thank you very much, Chuang, for inviting me here for this first inaugural series. I'm very honored. Regarding leadership style, I think the first thing we got to remember is that we are all human beings, So I think it's very important that we treat each other with due respect and fairness. I think that's the first ingredient of being a good leader. But on top of that, I think one has got to have a very good macro view of the industry that you are in. You got to, the leaders got to know a fair amount of details, because otherwise it's very hard for you to brainstorm with the employees on the direction, on the issues, on the other thing, and gradually to gain their respect over the time.
In your saying, in the past, Tan Sri, that if you look back, and of course, looking back, you always look back with 2020 vision. But you've said before that if you did, you would do things 300 to 400% different if you were to do things differently in the past. Is there a lesson to be learned for the younger MDs and the younger CEOs in the room today in terms of getting as much right as possible from the get-go?
Yeah, I think, of course, with hindsight, everybody can do better. That's true. But I think in the past, for KLK and myself, we certainly have been a little bit too conservative in acquisition. There are some acquisitions that you can afford to miss. You can afford to make mistakes. But there are some acquisitions that will transform your companies. And these are the transforming acquisitions that we should actually pay a lot of attention, and to, even though we have to pay a premium for it, it will probably worth the effort, because this is going to change your company. So I think this is one of the mistakes that we reflect on in the past. But in order to know this, one have got to have a very good macro view of the industry that you in, the different players, and much more details about the direction in which you aim the business to grow into.
Well, the year is now 2013, and clearly technology has evolved to a point, Tan Sri, where we've got a plethora of data in front of us. We have reams of information from which to make our decision. Should management, younger management especially, make Well, I guess take the bull by the horns and be a bit more aggressive now that we kind of know at least what's in store for us 3-5 years out from now.
I think things have changed a lot because information is now so free. Technology is more easily accessible. And I think, as you mentioned, the market is global. And I don't think for Malaysian companies, we have to start thinking much more global and to see ASEAN as our market. We tend to give higher value to the developed markets like the United States, the EU, and all those things. But I think also right in front of us, we have also a very big ASEAN market in which the culture is closer to us and it's easier for us to expand to. So the first thing that maybe we should be doing is to focus more on these markets.
And you touched on this before in terms of human capital, Tan Sri. When you go and visit other operations around the region, how do you galvanize your people? How do you encourage your people to think a little bit outside of the box and not be a bit paranoid about other operations, be they better run or less better run? And how do you impose this culture of innovation and open-mindedness among the people?
First, I think is that KLK is very fortunate to have a group of very loyal staff that have been able to that enable us to partner with them to go overseas in new countries like Indonesia, where we certainly need our trustworthy men to be there while we are building up the local management and to inculcating our values into the management overseas. But in terms of innovation, I think it's very important for us to be broad-minded. A lot of innovation is already out there. You have got to pick up the innovation, maybe adapt it a little bit. And that's why the mind frame that I always used to talk with my people, that even you visit other people's operations, if there's one good idea you can bring back, it's more than worth it. It's definitely more than worth it. And I think the worst thing to have is to live in an ostrich world where you think you are the best and nobody can teach you anymore. For a long time, we think that Malaysia is actually on top of the world. We are the leaders in the plantations, and until we go to Indonesia, we find that their extraction rates are better than us, the oil extraction rates from the EFP. Some of the mills there are doing 25% OER, oil extraction rates. In our industry here, we are very happy with 22%. This is a case in mind. So it's like the 100 meters. Now we know that they are doing 25%, so we have to challenge our people. Why are you still here? What is it that we need to do to bring up to those type of levels? It's like running the 100 meters, somebody has broken the 10 seconds. The second person to break it is easier than the first one. So we have to be aware of what other people are doing and challenge ourselves to do much better. And I think this one of the strong points in our industry in Malaysia is that we are very friendly competitors. Although we might be competitors, we do share knowledge. We should have, for example, KLK and Balstead have a joint research. So we do work together in many areas to improve ourselves.
Staying on the subject of human capital, Tan Sri, you have, as with most entrepreneurs in the room, outlined the importance of innovation, but innovation is a byproduct of an education system, is a byproduct of competition, and those two issues are arguably in omission in Malaysia. Now, what is the scope of the challenge here for entrepreneurs and the staff that they head?
I think for innovation, first of all, you must have got a good human capital. You must get the right person to be doing the innovation in your R&D team. You must have the right group of personnel in whatever areas that you are doing. And innovation is a consistent effort. It's not something. Nowadays it's quite hard for us to find a solution to answer all our problems. So it's a step-by-step improvement most of the time. But cumulatively, it will bring us to be a much more competitive position in the industry. What is important? I think human capital is very important. The education system of our country is extremely important. And I think this is where we in Malaysia has to work towards improving our education system, improving the command of the English language, whether we like it or not. This is to be a global world. There's no other way. There's no other way. And we must not sit on our laurel and say that we are doing very well. Okay? In order to do this, we must bring back some more elements of the meritocracy in our system.
Knowing fully well the importance of those topics, Tan Sri, and having already gone abroad many, many years earlier, could your job have been a lot easier if we had a better foundation, arguably?
I think Malaysia did have a very good foundation for the generation like myself. We had a very good foundation. But we do also have a problem of the newer graduates that are not as we used to think. We are thinking, our opinions that they are not as competent as ourselves. Maybe we are a little bit biased, but you will help if their command of the language is better, if their standards set are much higher. But anyway, I think we are working as a group to upgrade their skill sets before we bring them overseas. I think the case is South Korea. South Korea is a country that has grown by leap and bounds. I think all of us are using Samsung telephones, television. They conquer everything in chemicals and all those things. They have a very good group of universities, and they have a very good Korean culture, which binds all the people together to be loyal to their country, to build for the country. I think there's a lot of lessons to be drawn from the Korean experience.
In fact, a lot of management experts have outlined the Japanese culture, the German culture, the South Korean culture, as they've gone and expanded overseas and bought more companies overseas. Within the Malaysian context, Tan Sri, how can we take the bull by our own horns and ensure that we have a strong Malaysian culture going overseas? As and when we want to go abroad, we want to go regional, we want to go international, but we need to go there with a strong core of Malaysians who count themselves Malaysians first and foremost.
I think it's happening now. I think Malaysian companies, especially the bigger companies like Sime Darby and the GLCs and some of the other larger capitalization companies, are making acquisition overseas. And they are doing very well. Axiata is doing very well. And I think they are bringing a lot of this Malaysian culture, Malaysian values overseas. I think I know that in the People's Republic of China, one of the greatest value of the foreign multinationals are looking for Malaysians and Singaporeans. Why? Because they feel that these are the people that is very trustworthy, very loyal. They have got a certain sets of values that will work. We have a set of values that can understand that is complementary to the multinationals. We have almost the same values as them. So Malaysians are highly sought after to go overseas. We just need to be a little bit more ambitious and not to think that being here is our ultimate aim.
In the context of a unifying culture, Tan Sri, some might say that the GLC and the GLIC internal culture might be artificial and exist in its own sphere. For the family-owned companies, which of course is a very much an Asian phenomenon, something in the order of 65 to 70% of listed companies in Asia are family-owned. Is there a parallel culture? Is there a parallel lesson to be learned for family-owned companies that are not within the GLC definition when they go overseas?
I think whether it's for the GLC or the family-based companies, there is a lot of common elements, common ingredients. Number one, I think as we go overseas, we got to understand our business. We got to have we got to be very competitive and very efficient in the areas that we want to, in the businesses that we want to do overseas. Because if we are not competitive and efficient, then just going overseas is useless. It's useless. And of course, we must have a group of people that we can bring along to bring our values, people that we can trust, at least initially, and to eventually to set up the operations there and to train the local people so that we have truly a multinational team working for us.
And absolutely. And you talked about this in terms of, when you make the very, very big decision of going abroad, in terms of even expanding your land bank within the country, you touched about how in the early days you were a bit conservative. You priced the price of land at that time on current valuations, not what it could have been in the future, necessitating your response that it was a bit of a mistake in the early days. What lessons can businessmen of today take from that overly conservative view? Are you saying that we should be more aggressive going forward?
Yes, I think is that in the past, I think our non-aggressive, more conservative nature were also because that we were quite satisfied, with what we already have. But as the world grows now, what you have, and if you don't grow it in a consistent manner, you will also lose good management talent within your company. And as I was saying, is that opportunities doesn't come every day, or doesn't come very often in your life. But there are certain opportunities that when it comes, you have to really grasp hold of it. I think, of course, without endangering your company, something you can afford, but something that you can afford to look and just say it's okay, it should be okay in 5 years' time, because that is the direction in which I would like to go. I think this is the advice that I would like to give to the younger entrepreneurs. Of course, the first thing is not to think about buying something that you cannot afford to, but if there's something you can afford and without endangering the base of your company, and when the opportunities come, I think you should give it a try.
Aside from the staple considerations of valuation and price, Tan Sri, what to you amount to the hallmarks of an expansion that has to be done, come what may?
For example, the expansion that you probably will have to do is that something that will bring you into a new field, a new type of business that is complementary to your business, possible expansion into a new region. For example, in our oleochemicals business, there's no way that we could have gone into some of the technologies that the multinational has. So when the opportunities came out, for example, in Switzerland, in the area of further downstream in the ethoxylations of our basic oleochemicals, we went along with it because there's no way we can develop that technology ourselves.
Some companies and some entrepreneurs suffer from analysis paralysis, and this is very much a truism of management culture. But you have said in the past as well that continuous development is essential. Once you make a decision, other things happen and snowball as a result of that. Should that be a staple of entrepreneurialism, Tan Sri? Continuously doing things so that you're moving the envelope a little bit forward each time?
Yeah, I would think definitely so, because I think life is a journey, or when you venture into something, it's a journey. Without taking the first major few steps, you will not know what are the steps ahead of you, as you do one series, as you make some acquisition in something, in one businesses, then you have new knowledge about that business. You meet other people, and it brings you new ideas.
Tan Sri, your insights and wisdom have truly enlightened and inspired all of us this morning in a special and personal way to each and every one of us in this room. For that, we remain forever in your debt. Thank you ever so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings to a close the inaugural issue of the Global Malaysia Series, brought to you by the Economic Transformation Program and BFM. Also bear in mind that this will be one of several more to be taken over the course of this year, and we do look forward to your participation.